I just wanted to start. Okay, this talk is, a lot. So, my name is Torsten Raudssus, Getty at SyContent and on GitHub. And this talk is about about a product I'm making, SyContent, content management in the cloud with V8. Even though the content management is also the bigger part of this. So this is my business card. Disclaimer. When I insert this talk, I was actually planning to have the product fully ready, but I wasted 3 months trying to make a good form management. Then I gave up. I actually can show later some code of this. The other thing is that, after this 3 months, I've registered to talk like 6 months ago or something, in February, March, and I worked 1 month on the product, worked 3 months on this form management, which failed and stole so much time from me. And then I had to switch to the electronics. You saw the lightning talk yesterday, so I had also 2 months lost. So the product is not in the good state, but it's in a ready state. So you can actually see the concept, and that's why I want to talk about this. The main concept about what we're talking about is publishing. There is a bunch of enterprise software in the world, which is called publishing software, which is not publishing software, which is right now coming up for the book writers. But in the content management area, there was always called publishing system. Those software which works by the publishing system, which means that there is a real publishing process. That means that it's not about only content management, it's about content management with a publishing process. And this is actually a game changer. Many people don't get it really, because in these days we have Jekyll, we have lots of static site generators and lots of things which are dispatching the topics, but they are not really into the content management direction. Every static site generating concept you have is very splitted up, and it's really just for static generation, while publishing tries to cover all topics, like all sites. So, warning, this talk says PHP can be useful, PHP can be useful. I must give this warning, because some people might find this horrible. It is horrible, but it's like, you know, there are so many PHP developers on the world, we must make them to use. Because else, you know, it's just wasted resources. And with this concept, you actually can't put them to use without any harm. Before I start the main topic, content management, the history of content management is a history full of misunderstandings. And the Germans might probably laugh here, because there's an advertisement in Germany, or there was an advertisement in Germany, where this lady was standing there at the projector, then she's turning on the light, and she's turning to the camera, and it's telling you, the history of menstruation is a history full of misunderstandings. And this spot was running like 8 years, every fucking day, over and over. So I really the Germans have a tense to this sentence. So my experiences with those publishing systems, with those concepts, and generally with content management is that I, like 20 years doing this stuff. When I was growing up in the IT scene, the only topic for me was making content management system, but not only making content management system, but think about how I can make a team work on this content management system. So it's not only about making it work, but also thinking about the team. And this was always my topic. I was always with a team. I had always many people around me, so it was not always about what I want. It was something that, what about the people and what they understand on this? In a classic web application, we have normally this concept. Request code, request code, request code, request code, request code. Okay, that's fine. Some people say then, hey, come on, let's add a cache so that we have less code calls. Yeah, the request code cache, request cache, request cache. And sometimes the cache has to be renewed, even though there is no change, but the cache has to be renewed. Or for example, if you reset the cache, like imagine you have a site with 30 million pages, which has 20 million requests, and you have like a load of X, and then you kill the cache, and the next moment you have a load of X multiplied by 1,000 or something, because 1,000 of pages are suddenly making new calls. So in the end, even this concept is just genius. So what should be the right way in this, and which should be the most effective way on this, is this, that only the change pushed to the cache and the request comes from the cache, and there's nothing else. Because in this concept, it doesn't matter what happens. It always works, because the cache stays, because the cache is directly getting the change, and there's nothing that kills it. So, and with SyContent, you can actually register on there and test it already, as said, even though the feature amount is limited. And SyContent is now the idea of bringing these publishing systems into a modern concept, which is like capable of handling all the modern problems we have. If you, for example, ever use Jekyll or something, when you generate a static site, there are tons of sites which you can't make with Jekyll, because they can't fulfill the requirements you have. So there's a lot of problems with the publishing process and with the idea of publishing that makes it hard for the existing system to be useful. Those enterprise systems I talked about before actually make a huge bunch of money with this concept. Like, I can say like 50 of the top 100 sites of Germany are working on publishing enterprise systems. This is several reasons why I'm talking about this. I will come to this. I just want to first crush through what SyContent itself is. It's a Catalyst application, which is forked by me by the community platform from DuckDuckGo, what I worked on. So the idea still, the main idea of SyContent is also adding a community element to the content stuff. Like, you could imagine it like a bit of GitHub for content management. Because I think it is very important that we start making the content accessible for people in a way that they can change it. That you can say like, hey, I have a typo on the web page, and the customer and the users can actually send you a pull request to say, hey, there's a change that you need to change. Or, for example, if you have an HTML problem, why always hire developers to fix your HTML problems if actually user often, which those bad browsers actually knows what to fix about this. There are many web developers around who like have fun on doing this. And we all know this from GitHub and open source. We also like to patch something on others' project because, hey, cool and stuff. And also in this way, I think content management needs to be a community topic more and more. Not only source, but also the real content. So template and content. It's closed source, because I want to make a service out of this. The idea is free. That's why I'm telling it you, because you can use part of these ideas, and still, if you think the idea is totally genius, come to me and we make SyContent work for you however you want it. The idea is free, as said, because I'm a generous God. So the idea is mainly that in a very simple structure, we have model, like for every type of data you have a model, and we have attributes which define like what type of attributes we have, a text field, for example, or a text area or something like that. And every model has fields which are based on the attributes, and every model has carflets. You can translate it for now as templates. I use a new term for this instead of using the term template, because a carflet could be actually only code. There could be actually no template at all, and just a concept behind that. That's why I gave it a new name. The word carflets comes from carving. If you know carving, yeah? We actually took a long time to pick this term. And the carving is for us the term for the publishing process, for the final thing that generates the page. Yeah, so from a model, you get a content, and the field and the content gives a value, and the carflet and the content give a file. It just let it stand there, so as said, when you are into this thing, it was easy. I don't want to explain the complete concept of SyContent itself, because when you go into the system, it's very easy. And as said, the main talk is not about SyContent itself, it's about the concept. So, and there comes the big point, carving and exposing. So, when you have entered your data into SyContent and all the stuff and what you want, the templates and all that, then you have actually also the ability to add target sites. And normally you give them right now you can already use FTP and SSH. So you give a site, yeah, an FTP site of something. And let me be clear here. When I said you can FTP it to some site, we talk about every fucking hoster in the world. I mean, I don't know, everyone here in the room probably has no problem with setting up a Docker or something for a site of him. You know, I have a site, I can make it, I make a Docker. But if you are like right now, think about you have an aunt or something, yeah, or your father comes to you and say, hey son, I want a website, yeah, and you don't want really to have him on your server because you sometimes shut your server down or move shit around and you have to keep care of it and stuff like that. But luckily in every fucking country there are hosters for like €1 or €2 where you can get the domain and the email and everything ready to go and everything fine for him because he's not you, you know, he's just a user. So you like to push him to some cheap provider because this cheap provider is actually covering him totally fine, especially with the email topic. We don't want to set up emails for our parents, not really, not really. And we want to, especially don't want to take care of their support problems. So, but also in this packages is always like this web server thing where you can put then files on, where normally it's just PHP running. And that is the crucial point of mostly of the Perl people. We can't tell anyone, hey, do it with Perl, because they can't use it directly, because they have just PHP and stuff. That's why many people go to PHP. It's like really, we talk about that the majority of developers is PHP, then secondary we have the Java developers, and then there's a huge hole, and then comes the rest. Yeah? So there's really a thing that many people are just working that way. We really talk about 95% of all people are working with some cheap hosters where they just bought a site. I mean, there are still about thousands of products online available for those kinds. So, when you now see the idea that SyContent is actually just delivering files to another site, in the classical concept, backend and frontend are always combined in some way. So you have like a central database, and the backend is accessing the database, and the frontend is accessing the database. Problem, if the database is down, nothing works. The backend doesn't work, the frontend doesn't work. Yeah? You probably have a slave or something, you have probably a high-class developer who is taking care of security that is not falling down, and you have a project that costs like 2,000, 3,000 per month, because you want to be sure that it works. So, take this €5 hoster or this $5 hoster, whatever, yeah? And we have SyContent, we have the backend and the frontend with no connection. That means, if SyContent is down, your site is not down, because your site is still on the hoster, and everything the site needs is on the hoster. Because we don't want this link, because when we have a breakdown, like for example, really SyContent is just a service, so when it goes down, and then you have a problem when the site is also down. It's like the problem of all other cloud services who offer you content management, because they are actually having a problem when the site is down. When you have like the WordPress com blog hosting and everything like that, they had downtimes. Yeah, everyone has downtimes. And you don't want the downtimes to be combined with you. You want your own downtimes, or you want to have especially, like for example, someone more near responsible. When you're in another country and you want to use SyContent, most people are using cloud services in America, and then the cloud service in America is going down, is doing damage to your business. Yeah, try to sue them. Yeah, it's a big thing. So you got a local hoster in your country. You get your neighbor who is a hoster or something. He has a big data center, and you buy €5 accounts from him. And so when there's a problem with the pages path, you can go to him and bother him. And there is really someone. I mean, we have, how many hosters are here in the room? Just to ask someone here, offering hosting. Okay, there's one hoster, yeah? There's another one, yeah? So just to say, there's always a hoster in the room, always. So, I want to talk about the word file, because I actually put it in quotes out of a reason, even though the file, the database table is called file. The concept of a file is abstract in this thing. Even though I said now it's a carving, you generate static files and you push them on the server, a file still can be much more than just a file. So for example, yeah, I said in static case, yeah, we have like static, that's the normal case, but static pages are a bit boring. Yeah? So, PHP to the rescue. Yeah? every of this hoster has PHP? Does on your hosting run PHP? Yeah, okay. So the same again. If you found this hoster in the room, ask him if he runs PHP. There runs PHP, no problem. So let me get clear here. When we generate static files and add PHP tags to it, there is no danger with PHP. I mean, PHP is a fuck up. It's a real fuck up. I mean, it's like really the biggest fuck up in the world. But if you just use it to make an include or to make a for each loop or something like that, it works. Unbelievable, but it works. Yeah? You just shouldn't like add a framework to it or something, you know, like 20 layers to it. So I just say I will allow it. So the big point here is really when you see it like in a visual way that all the PHP developers in the ich have 50 minutes. Don't tell me that it's like over. A PHP. Okay. So when you now try to visualize it, you know, the normal PHP developer who has like, you know, let's imagine a guy who has YOMLA or something like that. Yeah. When you have a customer project as PHP developer who like regularly does YOMLA, you still don't have to solve like this little bit for the customer. You still have to add also another bit for the YOMLA plugin. And when you run it, you still have the complete YOMLA under it. So we talk about this bunch of code, yeah, which could fail. While in this concept where we have like a limited amount of PHP in it and like no layers, and especially, and that's the best cake about it, if the people have like a specific thing that really needs code, yeah, then the PHP developer code amount is like really very low because there's no plugin concept that they need to follow because it's no thing. And this allows very simple code. So you can really hire a stupid PHP developer to solve the actual problem. And I really mean this. I really mean the combination of powers. There are agencies running around who are tons cheap because they have nothing to do. And you can hire them to make a subpart of the project while you don't care about the other parts. Because as said, it's just for one part of the site. You could actually make in the PHP also like a link that asks another web application. That you have like a real Perl behind that has real effective data. Good example here, YouPorn in the past was running that concept. BBC was also, right? The iPlayer was also the same concept, like a PHP on front, which was accessing in backend in the Perl, so that when the Perl is down or when something is problem with the server, that the page is still up and can show something. So it's really a good combination in this way. But the gag now is that even you could go and say like, hey, what about if we generate static JSON files? And we put them on the server in some directory. And you have a Perl application that is actually the real web application, the one that's really accessing the web request. But in the end, the Perl thing is checking if there exists a file in this directory. So it can take then, when the URL is matching, take the JSON data and use it. Which means that you can finally concentrate on the real problem of the page and don't care about the real content of the page. The content comes from SyContent. The content is a nice backend interface that you don't need to set up because it's a cloud service. It's always there. So you don't need any setup time. Yeah? You just need the site of the customer. Actually, you can wait for the customer to get an account by his hosting, get his FTP thing. Then you can on SyContent clone a site from before or something, yeah? And everything is fine. And the Perl application can actually do the real work and just in the case of content, load up some templates to use the data which is in the JSON. The same goes with Java, Ruby, Bash, if you want. Node.js. There's actually a reason why I put Node.js under Bash, just to say. So the options are very, very bright, especially, and this is now something that's also genius on this, I think, that you can also combine this. Why not make it so that you have like in the web server like one path that just goes to the static pages, one path that goes to a sub-Perl application, one path that goes to a Java application, everything like that. can be very good combined, and they still can all use the same main content database, which is delivered from the front end, from the back end, from SyContent. So this allows the people to actually have a combined work. We have one back end where the Java developer, the Perl developer, and the PHP developer are all working together, because the result doesn't collide. And this is really like the teamwork element, which is very important and very beautiful on this. And the cream of the cream is now your father has this web page, and he has like really 100 web pages, and he asks like, I want to search on my page. And now you are really fucked. You say, oh my God, he has this €5 hoster with this something and MySQL, I don't know, and I don't want to check up this stuff really big and stuff. So solution SQLite. PHP is actually a very fine working SQLite library. So what SyContent also will offer, not right now, is generating just a SQLite file of specific data that you say, I want at this position in the file system a SQLite file which contains the content in a searchable form. You can define parsing or something like that was before. That gives out this data in a table. And then you can use one PHP function to get the data out which matches, yeah, with a like search or something like that. And trust me, this works till 100,000 pages. Put 100,000 entries in a SQLite database, make a query on it, and it doesn't take a second. So we talk about every page with up to 100,000 pages can be done with this concept. And it even has a search. I mean, that's already 99% of all sites in the world. This Hamster thinks that it's a great idea. But there's more. What about the fact that you really want to kick the shit off and want to say, SQLite search, nah, Elasticsearch, awesome, awesome. So what right now is not implemented, but what is on the path is that this abstraction of file also can be delivering to a web API. So instead of using the FTP publisher to publish the file, he knows that this kind of file must be delivered to a specific Elasticsearch address with some password and something, so that the data is updated there. So you have your site on the PHP or some hoster, and you have like your high-class Elasticsearch hosting or something, and you say like, hey, put the static files to there, and make for the Elasticsearch requests to there, so that they both can work together. Yeah, I think that is clear. The same goes with SQL databases, because you can, I don't know if someone knows this already, in PHP there's sometimes those nice PHP gateways to SQL that when you have like, there are many MySQL software managers, like a real software on your Windows machine or something, and this one needs access to the database at the hoster, and the hoster doesn't allow access directly to the database port. So what you do, you make a little PHP which is like dispatching towards this. And this is actually can be done with SQL, and this concept also very good. Even though I have even more concepts on this, but I don't want to go deeper into this because there are so many things on so many ends where I can talk about, so that I want to limit myself. The same goes also with social media API. Why not directly use the content flow we have to make the tweet about it? So that, like in the content management system, the guy who makes the content can say, oh, this article is our next tweet. So he marks the tweet button. And then we push the carving button. The carving knows, okay, I have to push the static files first and everything. And in the end, he says, okay, now that everything is done, now we can Twitter about it. Which is actually like the stress-released version of anything on this, yeah? Because normally the social media management is still extra, an add-on, something that you need to fill by your own, because barely content management system built this in. In this case, it's very simple to do it. It's just like a big problem. So, and now comes the main part where probably most people were up to, and because when you have now this, we have SyContent, and you give in the data, and you have like the resulting sites and stuff, you still have one problem, because there is still logic you want before the carving process, before the publishing. A good example is when the meta description is missing, we want to use the title as meta description. Classical case. So, and in SyContent, we actually can do this. For example, I have here the sample code. Can everybody? Oh. How I make it bigger? Yeah, but no. Huh? Ah, yeah, Control Plus. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I don't do this often. It always happens on when you don't want it, and then. So, can the people now read it? So, this is the little example, and it's really like this way in the code in SyContent. So what I do is I prepare a lot of JavaScript. For every model I prepare a JavaScript class and everything, and inside this model, with the mapping of the variables to the short names, I give all the variables you defined as attributes and fields on the model, so you can work with them. So this is really exactly working code. You can just say if meta description is like not true, then meta description is the title, and this works then. And this concept, I mean, it's like when I started making SyContent, this was my main problem. I started SyContent, the concept, the real concept, and my real work started with my going in self-employment. And this was 3 or 4 years ago, and there I went into self-employment and had 1 year paid by government. So 1 year was from my unemployment support you get when you make a company. You get support from the government. So I had 1 year silence around me and was able to work on this. And I worked half a year on it before I then was dragged into DuckDuckGo and was doing 3 years DuckDuckGo. And I was working 6 months on it and was not having one working version in the end, which was like really depressing. But now, when I was having 3 years of time thinking about it, and when I was like learning a lot in this time, really a lot in this time, making the DuckDuckGo community platform was like the best shit I could do to learn Catalyst, DBX class and everything like that. So it was really a very massive knowledge that I gained in this time. And so I was able to make a working version, which is like on the side there, in 1 month, luckily. But still, there was one big problem for me, and this was really bothering me, because we need this dynamic. We need something to make the content on the site in the cloud dynamic, that there can be logic before the publishing process. And that was really the moment where I had the problem that I wanted to do it with Perl. We all love Perl, so I wanted to do it with Perl. But you can't sandbox Perl. You can't sandbox actually every language that is not really made for this. Because it's like the real problem is that whatever you do, you can't give the security that not someone is breaking out. And that's why I specifically came to the JavaScript V8 engine. Because the JavaScript V8 engine don't have any I/O. You can do anything there. You have like only entrance points with functions you install, and you have the data that comes out of those functions. When we see on meta cpan JavaScript V8, which is actually managed by him, who doesn't want me to show him. And we really need help on this, because we need someone with XS, C knowledge and everything. You know, it's like really a problem topic. And if you see now the description of the actual thing, there are only 2 functions. Actually not exactly right. There's one is, wait a minute, make it bigger. So one function, there's actually bind function, but you can also just use bind. Bind is used to give a function to the JavaScript. So in this case, like print will do print of the parameters which was given over. and the other function is eval. That is all. That is all you need. Because actually you just want to bind functionality, special functions to the user, so you can call special things that really does I/O. But he only has this gateway of, oops, but he only has this gateway of the function. So we can define what is happening there. And I think this part we can make secure. If you couldn't make this part secure, then we failed our job. So there is no breakage out. So, and then the other part is running the code that the user then wants to do on this thing. You prepare lots of stuff around that and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like how you need it. And this V8 concept is just perfect, because you know how many people in the world in the software development area can do JavaScript? Like everyone. I mean, it's like everyone who's making sites knows JavaScript. So they all can do this. And the next gag is, even those who have no idea of programming, it's JavaScript, a moron can do it. You know, it's like very, very simple and very straightforward. So I really think that this concept is like a next step. I mean, we had that all the time in the browser. Our browser was always using V8, and everything is like, we never noticed that there's a Sandbox platform inside our browser which is tested 1,000,000 times, and that's 1,000,000 times it's safe. We know that the V8, the JavaScript engine, is really safe. We know that every last security problems were all coming from things outside the JavaScript, while everyone is actually thinking that JavaScript is the most vulnerable thing in the browser. But no, the JavaScript engine just don't have any I/O, and if you don't have any I/O, there can't be anything going wrong. And I think this is like really bringing in a lot of options. This is bringing in a lot of options, and that's why I also made this Home Hive TV, which I showed already yesterday on the thing. But this is like really going this direction and thinking this direction farther. Because when I thought about making this electronics with my dad, I was actually thinking like, hey, how I can combine the electronics in the cloud then, because I want to make a cloud service. So again, JavaScript to the rescue, yeah, because it's like really the best concept on there for allowing the people to configure it. And you can even put like a JavaScript engine inside your open source thing. If you have like an open source thing where you want to offer inside the feature something where people add code. In this moment, it could be Perl code, because it's their own security, it's their own problem, so you don't need to care about it as open source software. But if they see, oh, there's a Perl application which allows me to make my logic in simple JavaScript, which I already heard of is fine, yeah, there sounds like something interesting in there. So I think that is actually really a point that we should take more use of this. And that's why we definitely need some more help on maintaining this link. And yeah, and I think you people should actually get more into this V8 topic. So I still have 15 minutes, that's good. I wanted to show what I have inside SyContent, because I think the main topics are now clear, and I wanted to show SyContent inside. I actually put it to the end of the talk, because that I have the main topic for you all have the big picture around and stuff like that. I just wanted to come back to one topic which is really on my nerves, because this teamwork element of this publishing and this concept of splitting up this topic is really a very big thing. And I think that is something that agencies should really more think about, because in this world right now it is so that PHP agencies, or generally all agencies of different software development, can't work together. While in the end, if you know reality of sitting together, we are all liking each other. You know, if you go to a PHP event, or if you go to an event where everything is mixed up, yeah, you have no hate about the PHP developer. You think he's stupid, but you don't have any hate, and he's probably even making good results. Yeah, he's probably even making a very good web page and a very good like HTML design or something. But he's really used to his content management system and to probably PHP or something, also the core PHP writing. And with this moment that we have the ability to combine those, we can make like really the sites much faster. When you can like say, hey, you guys make this area there of the sites and we make this area there of the sites and we just have central content that comes in. You can even make, we had this on one project like Automotor Sport, for example, is made in the same publishing concept, that we have like a car page. For every car there's a page. And when you go to the car configuration page where you could actually check up how much a car costs, because there's really a fucking database for this if people don't know this, and you could configure the car completely. So in the end, in the content management, the people were just managing the cars and had the identification of the car, and we have a page then where was just like in Java include giant, which was giving the right ID of the car, and we had this on the page, which was really like no problem for us. We were able to cooperate with this other agency who was delivering this Java car configuration thing. It was like a really 500,000 application and stuff like that. But we didn't care, because it was just on this thing running next to our application. And we just had a gateway inside our PHP that was going to fetch the stuff that the car configurator wants to put into the display. So normally that would be like a plugin in the content management system. So you had, again, a huge bunch of work just to make it cooperative work, because you don't know what they want. In this case, it wasn't easy. So, oh yeah, before I go to the real example, some questions already now probably, not directly about SyContent, but about the concept, or something someone wants to say. Oh, I'm making it.
You were talking about sandboxing and security. Did you have a look at the Perl package called Safe?
Yeah. Not safe.
No?
Not safe. Yeah. He asked about the Perl package Safe, which actually was on my thing to do. But the Safe thing is again just killing out the functions that the people shouldn't use, which in the end leads to the fact that there could be someone loading a module which could be going around it if he knows how Safe works. I don't say it's easy, but if you're offering a cloud service for thousands of people, you don't want him on your system. So really, I really tried it. And I talked also with Matt Stroud about it, and he also said the same. There is no safe way. The only safe way to sandbox Perl is make a call to another system, where you have like, independent system, which has only the Perl and it runs there, and after that you kill the system. Yeah, like Travis, the Travis CI concept. That is actually the only way to sandbox Perl. That is actually also the reason why Travis is doing it that way in the end. I mean, it's like they could make a different way of integration, but this way is the only way to make it secure, that they can run anything and they don't care. Because if there's a crash, it's fine. It's just one of those dispatcher hosts, and those people at the dispatcher host knows that this could happen, so they make a chain wall around the systems. Yeah. Any other one? Are you standing there? Oh, you have question. Yeah. Okay. Forget it. So now I wanted to go into SyContent and show it a bit. Let me do this here on smaller thing. So when you come into the system, you get like a list of your sites. In this case, it's like the admin view of lots of sites. And I have already many sites on there.
Google.com.
Yeah, I make Google.com with this. Don't you realize that? This is Google. Yeah, it's just like I've made the mistake to add the give me the all at the thing, and I make it a required field. So when I make a test site, I always have to give a fucking URL to make it work. Yeah. So that's the point why I think. Do I have something? I don't know. Let's go to some sites. I don't care. Yeah, hello world, live commerce. Oh no, oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. So, and there is on the top, you have like the management of the content itself and the admin area where you configure the sites. With the multi-user management in the system, everyone can have an account and you can share a site. And you can also say that the other user shouldn't have admin access. So he can still add content and all the stuff, but he can't change templates, he can't change the structure of the site and everything. That is good for customers, you know? Because we don't want the customer to break anything. And they are good at this. They are really good at breaking stuff. Yeah, it's really. So, and in the admin area, I mean, it's like, you know how CMS look. I tried to make it as simple as possible and as straightforward with Bootstrap. I don't want it to distract the people with complex structures around it and everything. And it's actually working on the mobile, which is also good for people that want to change content on the fly. So you have the attributes here, the models you can define. When you take, for example, in the models, you have also here the carflets, which are the templates as said, or later code when we have it. And there you have like the name, reference. You can say like if it's an HTML, what you want to do. Later they get PHP and JSON and other environments. And which template engine you want to use. Or it's very hard to find JavaScript template engines which are really useful. Actually very funny, I found one which is made by a Perler, Jajet. If anyone ever heard of this, I don't know, anyone ever heard of this, Jajet? No? Very funny, it's a template engine for JavaScript made by a Perler, which totally looks like a Perler made a JavaScript template engine. And the best part on this is, this. This is valid. This dollar title. Because if you do dollar variable name, he automatically thinks you want to make a variable there. You don't need an opening and close tag. Can you imagine how nice this is making templates that way? I didn't make much big templates yet, but it's already a killer fun to make it that way, because it's like when you look at the code, you really have text there and not some crucial opening close tag and something in between. You just have the tag there. And that makes it really nice. I really like this Jet, so I hope I can make more in the next time with this. But I have also other handlebars and all the other stuff. And so the other thing is, I have a forest. You know, forest like tree management. No? So when you have content and content structure, you also want to have them in a tree. That is very common for like the base structure of the menu. You have the base structure of the menu and you want to attach content to those specific nodes in the tree and something like that. There's always a tree you need. And also for this, I made a tree management so that you can add nodes and stuff like that. And what you can do is bind a tree to a content model so that every time you make a new tree node, it directly creates a new content object for this model. So you have like the index page of your menu. While on the other side you have also content which has nothing to do directly with this thing, but you make a relation to the tree. So that on the index page you make the code that says, give me the latest article which are linked to this tree node, or the tree node under it, or the tree node under it. So this way, you have like always nice index pages updated. For example, in Automotor and Sport, where they have like 15 million pages, but the tree of the actual articles is just like 50 or 60 points. Yeah. So beside the cars and stuff like that. And so there is one process, which every time one definition that every time they publish new stuff, they also generate the index pages new, which is like 60 pages, and it's easy to do. It's very passive way, in a very passive way, because this is on the main server, so it can be very nice combined there on this part. Yeah, genau, exactly. And here is this where the V8 actually comes into play. That when you have when you have, you can give a rule that is called on a specific event on change, and you can then link models to this thing. So you can say that I have a rule meta description, which is active and name, blah, blah, plans on change, which is if there is no meta description, the meta description is title. Yeah, and that's it. And then this rule is always called in this moment. I just have right now on change, but as said, the code is very good and I can make good steps forward. I just didn't have the time. So someone needs more, we can actually do this very fast. And there is already a good bunch of code prepared that I want to push on, which delivers much more features, like, for example, repeatable content types, that you can make a paragraph as thing. It was very common in automotive sport that we made inside the model, inside the content, that we made a block for the paragraph, which means the paragraph had the paragraph text, the picture alignment, and the picture title. So you had like this block, repeatable as much as they wanted. And if they wanted a picture there, so they picked the picture, set the align if it's left or right. Yeah, and then this was all then used in the template to generate this paragraph. Yeah, I know. I saw it 1 minute before. So yeah, so and in this moment, now you lost. Where was I? A paragraph, exactly, yeah. And so when you have the paragraphs, that you can make easily change, because normally when you have in another system, you make not paragraph blocks, because it's like very complex, stupid to make like an extra entry in the content management system for every paragraph. Imagine this, if you have like for every page, you have a subtable paragraphs where you fetch this out. This is like really, for a real classical web application, not handleable. But in SyContent, you don't care. This is actually the very most important point of everything. You can be so relaxed about anything. If you need 5 minutes to generate the page, it's fine. No one gives a shit. No, that's what I say, SyContent. Didn't you listen to the last half hour? SyContent itself takes 5 minutes, but then the result is just always there. Yeah? So, and this is very important. For example, SEO. I don't know any one of you who has like a keyword detector in his SEO, right? Who has a keyword detector in his system that automatically fills 7 keywords for the search engines there? One guy in this room. And why is there just one guy? It was a pain in the ass to make it effective, or? Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine that with this system, it's very easy? Yeah, you see this? Because you know, you can take 2 minutes, you can make requests to other sites and check up stuff there. You can do anything you want. I mean, you have time, yeah? And this is a very important point that I want to use as the finish line of my talk. The customer. Customers love this concept in any way. And this is the main reason why I made this. Because first, the customer, you know this. All know this customer who doesn't understand the concept of online. Like then when you make a change, it's live. You know this problem? You often have to explain to them because they don't understand it, especially if they're coming from the publishing area, if they're making magazines and something like that. They don't understand this direct change of concept. And this is like a brain problem for them because they are not used to this. We are used to this. For this is normal. So they have to actually find a way to get happy with this. And with this system, they understand it. They can prepare as much as they want. They can prepare as much as they want on the text and stuff like that. And at some point they say, okay, everyone is fine. Now we publish. And the new version is going up. So the customer is really happy. And also on the other side is that you can explain to a customer much easier that now that the back end is down and the front end is still working, because he don't care. You know, ever saw a customer when in our enterprise publishing system was down, which was very, very often, because the software there was really, this enterprise software is really horrible bad. But when it was down, we had the database crash again or something, no one complained. there was really like literally no one of the customer with like Motorpresse, a real big company. No one cared. They said, "No, it's fine. When it's back, half an hour. Well, okay, I can wait." They have no problem with this. If the site is down, they are not that relaxed. So, but the site doesn't go down. You know, I mean, it's like the hosting is safe. I mean, it's like if you really don't do hosting yourself, you can be definitely sure that the other guy hosting is fine. If you do it yourself, it's a bit more stress. The hoster here in the room can tell it. So yeah, think about this really, really big, about this team working option and about this stability option, and definitely think about this point that you can take the time on the content generation as much as you want, because we are wasting so much time trying to optimize towards something which is totally useless. As I said at the beginning, it's just genius to use a cache, yeah, because it's not really solving the problem. This is the real solution. And you might say it's not for me, then it's fine, because it's really only for people who want to cooperate and want to have a stable system. If you want to make something else, it's fine. And I think I'm done here. If not, someone has not right now any question more directly? Ah, he's again. Yeah. There's always one guy asking questions, right?
Yeah. How do you deal with forms on the website that's generated?
I actually explicit put this topic out, but in the end, it's like pretty simple. What you can do is in the PHP make a form, and the form generates a file. And I can fetch this file. You can actually do it yourself if I give you the functions for this, and I will give you the functions for this. So that is one way you can do it. On the other side, SyContent has an API. So you could go the way that you make a little PHP which send it to the API like an unchecked content thing and stuff like that, would be also an option. I really like the file option, because it's a very passive way. SyContent API again, SyContent is down, you are fucked. So use the file concept. Yeah, use the file concept, and then you can actually fetch the files when you need. SyContent can fetch the file. I didn't implement that yet, but this is like one of the steps. And I think this is a very good concept on there.
But that means that forms cannot be like fully interactive. It has to be like
no, the
form, and then maybe 20 minutes after you get an answer.
Yeah, that depends on how you make the system. Like, for example, what you also can do is just use SyContent to generate the main part of the sites, everything around, but at some point you have still a database behind, have one page which is just showing data from the database, and the user is putting data into the database. Yeah, it's like you have the one little bit of small classic web app inside the thing, but it's so small that it's not bothering anymore. You don't need a complex system around. You just need one table or something. You can't even use an SQLite if you want or something like that. So the problem is reduced to a very small problem. It's still definitely one of the worst situation in this, but I must say those solutions sounds very reliable and very, very effective, especially this generating files and stuff. Nothing fails, nothing gets lost.
Thank you. And
Good.